Hi, it's Lucy Carlson here. The Criterion Collection is at it again, this time with everyone's favorite giant monster, Godzilla. Criterion gave us a pretty nice Godzilla box set on Blu-ray a few years ago, as well as a 4K of the original film. Now they're going back to the world of 4K and giving us a 1989 Godzilla film from the Heisei era. What we're looking at today is Godzilla vs. Biollante. I'm going to unbox this release and share my opinions. Close-up of the two title monsters, that looks great. Spine text, back cover. You get a nice insert in here that folds open. On this side you have your essay and your cast and crew credits. But on this side you get a poster of the Biollante monster. That looks very nice. We get the film on 4K Ultra High Def. And we also get a Blu-ray that includes the film plus the bulk of the bonus features. Inside the package it says Godzilla vs. Biollante in the background. Kind of hard to see on the camera, but it's there. Diving into delirious realms of imagination, this second film of the Godzilla franchise's 1980s resurgence showcased the towering beast for a new generation of fans. This time, Godzilla's foe is one of the series' most wonderfully strange kaiju creations, Biollante, a mutant plant genetically engineered from the cells of a rose, a renegade scientist's dead daughter, and Godzilla itself. When a wild plot encompassing spies, psychic children, and bonkers biotechnology, and some of the coolest special effects in the history of Japanese cinema, Godzilla vs. Biollante stands as a high point in the ever-evolving mythology of the King of the Monsters. Godzilla is actually considered to be the longest continually running film series of all time. There's nearly 40 feature films, including both Eastern and Western productions, and Godzilla vs. Biollante was actually the first film in the series completed during the Heisei period in Japan. The Heisei period referring to the time in which Akihito was Emperor of Japan. Prior to this, we had the Showa era in which Akihito's father, Hirohito, was Emperor of Japan. If you want to get technical, this is actually a sequel to the 1984 film, The Return of Godzilla, which came out during the Showa era, but it's considered part of the Heisei era of Godzilla because it ties more in with this era and is a direct predecessor to many of these films and their plot points. That aside, though, this is my first time seeing Godzilla vs. Biollante. I'm always eager to see what kind of other monsters the big guy is up against, and this is definitely one of the more unusual entries in the franchise, for better or for worse. I mean, we have a plot here about this plant monster called Biollante, which is the result of trying to use technology and biology to weaponize something that can defeat Godzilla if he ever comes back to Japan. And what we get instead is this giant monstrosity flower monster who ends up becoming Godzilla's latest rival. And one thing I like about the Heisei era revival of Godzilla, it took the character back to his roots where he was a menace. He was not a savior to mankind, he was a dangerous, deadly menace. The movie has a lot going on with a ton of characters. I mean, you have an anti-Godzilla task force, you have a Middle Eastern group trying to hijack and steal Godzilla's cells for their own use, you have psychic children, you have a scientist coping over his dead daughter who uses her DNA to create what becomes Biollante. And, put simply, a lot of the times I criticize Godzilla movies for being mindless popcorn movies, but Godzilla vs. Biollante kind of has the opposite problem. It has too much plot. There's simply too much going on, and you can easily have excised probably one or two of these side plots or groups of characters and still end up with a pretty full movie. That's not to say I didn't have fun with this, but when you have special vehicle effects that look like something out of Thunderbirds, but came out nearly 20 years later, that's a bit of an issue. I mean, I really think they could have done a little better with some of the special effects here, given that it had been 20 plus years since something like Thunderbirds was on the air, and that's what these vehicles reminded me of in a lot of ways. That said, though, Godzilla vs. Biollante is considerably less campy than the films of the Showa era, and for the most part, I have to say, this one did impress me, flaws aside. The 4K release of Godzilla vs. Biollante is something of a mixed bag. It is clear this image has been subjected to some form of noise reduction and or digital processing. It just never quite looks organic and filmic, and there's a suspiciously small amount of film grain present. So usually Criterion does pretty faithful masters and releases of films, so this is kind of disappointing. I wouldn't say this looks bad by any means, but Again, it just feels a bit unnatural at times. Understandably, there are some scenes that take place on TV monitors, and there's things that look like stock footage. Those are understandably going to look worse than the rest of the film, but for the most part, it is a decent-looking release. It's middle of the road, but it's certainly head and shoulders above any prior release of this film. Fortunately, we do get plenty of bonus features on the Blu-ray disc, including a pretty lengthy making-of featurette and some other older featurettes as well. Plenty to go around for those who are fans of Godzilla. Not the most robust package I've seen from Criterion in terms of bonus features, but it is good to see they did compile some nice stuff here, and I think fans will certainly want to check these features out. Godzilla vs. Biollante certainly has its flaws, and I do wish that had a slightly more faithful remaster on this that looked a little more filmic than what we get here that's clearly been processed to some degree. But again, I can't say that it looks terrible. It is a good release overall, and I can easily recommend this to fans of Godzilla. How about you? Are you a Godzilla fan? Where would you rank Godzilla vs. Biollante in the overall Godzilla chronology? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. I'm always posting new videos, and make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.